Hello and welcome back, everybody. Welcome to Web Components in Space, episode number 3. Today, we'll be talking about a subject that is near and dear to my heart, and that is motion capture. I am not a visual effects person, though. If you are, maybe you had the chance to play around with some of those motion capture suits. They are really expensive, though. I think I've seen some of the lower end ones go for like $3,000. So I think they go up a lot higher than that. So I haven't had the budget nor the reason to ever actually use one of these things. I still do like to play with motion capture, though. So I've been seeking out low-cost solutions for this over the years. And a decade ago, the perfect low-cost solution came out. So this was the Microsoft Kinect. It was supposed to be a gaming peripheral. You could play games with your body, but you could also hook it up to your PC. So this is where people could really experiment and play around. People have done crazy things with this, all immersive and interactive pieces that you can do with your body, interact with digital environments in that way. So these depth cameras, they can work in a variety of ways. The Kinect has gotten a lot more advanced over the years, but normally speaking, the way it works is that the camera will shoot out infrared beams out into the environment. And when they bounce back, the longer time it takes for them to bounce back, the further away something is. It can construct an image of pixels that are either near or far or somewhere in between. And these can be combined with normal camera channels, red, green, blue, to create an RGBD image. Over the years, there have been several solutions built on top of RGBD images that offer skeleton tracking or pose detection. So whether it's your left elbow or your right knee, these pose solutions can tell you where those points are on your body, where they are in space. So I've always been fascinated with pose detection. It's been going back for quite a while right now. In fact, back 10 years ago, I built a wrapper, a Node.js wrapper around the C libraries of some of these pose technologies and made a Node plugin that I would pipe that data through a WebSocket, and then I'd see it in my web browser. I could create experiences in my web browser based on pose detection. So actually, here I am at JSConf talking about natural user interaction with interaction when you're tracking points in your body and you can interact with the digital world. In fact, my whole presentation, I used my hand to swipe through the slides. And here's another video of me playing what I like to call the upright space, which is a combination upright bass guitar in space. It's not there, it's invisible. And so I'm playing instruments with my hand. Now, as nifty as this all was, there was a lot of complexity to get this working. You have a depth camera, you have some WebSockets, you have a Node.js server running a C++ plugin. It was kind of crazy, and normal people couldn't just come along and use this stuff. There's a lot of setup to do. So wouldn't it have been much better if we could just get all this pose detection data from a normal webcam? And the answer is yes, of course. It's been 10 years. We can do this now. And this is all thanks to advances in machine learning. Machine learning has come such a long way in the past decade. For a prime example of this, check out Adobe's Character Animator. And Adobe Character Animator has been used to animate a live Simpsons segment. It was pretty awesome when it happened, but that doesn't help you. You want to develop with this stuff. So it would be nice to have something that we could play around with code on the web using a webcam. This is where Google's TensorFlow comes in. TensorFlow, it's an open source machine learning framework, lots of different applications, but also TensorFlow.js is a thing. So TensorFlow can run in your browser through JavaScript. And in fact, there are several different pose capture solutions that are built on TensorFlow.js, and I cannot wait to use them, but they are not web components yet. So this is perfect because if you remember our last episode, we had Merle on talking about his shader doodle web component. Amazing component, but unfortunately, it didn't give the web componentron a lot to do. Our web componentron takes experimental web technology, bundles it up into a web component. So it felt a little left out last time. So yeah, buddy, this is your time to shine. I know you were disappointed last time that you couldn't build a web component for us, but this is going to be an amazing one to build. Like I told everybody out there, I love motion capture. I can't wait to see what you do with it. And I'm excited to play with the web component you build. So go get to work. Oof, what happened? What is that? What does that error say? Ouch. I guess that was a little more complex than I thought. So sorry. I mean, I'm sorry you broke. I know you're going to be disappointed. We'll let you build something next time. I'll get you fixed up. But for right now, I think we're going to have to build this component on our own. Unfortunately, I don't think we're going to have time to do a proper demo app with this because we're going to have to build this component ourselves. But I think for this episode, we can focus on building this component. There are some unique challenges here that we can use as a learning opportunity. First of all, I want to publish a set of components for pose capture. Now, instead of starting from scratch, I think we should use a template or a starter kit. So OpenWC has a good one. We'll explore that a little bit. Google's Lit has a great one. We're going to run with that for reasons that I'll get into when we start building with it. Now, another unique challenge here is that video is going to be present. I want to do pose capture on a live webcam or a pre-recorded video, maybe an MP4. Being able to use our player as a real video player where you can scrub to different points in the video at random. Web Dev Server doesn't work out of the box for this yet. What we're going to need is some middleware. It's a very niche situation we've gotten ourselves into. I can't think of another time you'd even need middleware other than what I'm specifically talking about right now. We'll get into that. One other tiny thing that I want to explore as well here in this episode is events. And, you know, as a video player, you want to dispatch what's happening, whether it's playing, pausing, what's the current time, tell that to the outside world through dispatching events. Also, it's when you find key points. My left elbow is moving and I want to dispatch events that identify those points. Both of these events I might have done before with custom events. There is a much better way to do this, and I've only learned about it recently. You're subclassing events. So you're taking an event and you're extending it out with additional functionality. And it's a lot better, it's a lot more organized. So we'll be exploring that. Now, lastly, and I think this is why our web componentron crashed, is that these TensorFlow solutions for pose capture, they don't really work at all yet for ES modules. There's a lot of CommonJS, there's some traps with Node.js, where it thinks that Node.js might exist, but it throws an error. There's other problems too, but I'm going to take a new approach here. So in past episodes, we had used plugins in Web Dev Server to take that CommonJS coming from our Node modules package, transform it on the fly to ES modules, and done some other tricks right on the fly in the server. But for this component right here, it's too complicated. I couldn't figure out a way to make it work using Web Dev Server, but also, even if we did make it work, we'd have a crazy Web Dev Server configuration, and we'd have to pass this on. We'd have to make our end user of this component have the same Web Dev Server configuration. So that's not ideal. We just want a component that's easy to consume. So we're going to do something I'm calling pre-bundling. What I've done before is I've taken these problematic Node modules and I've used Rollup to bundle them as an ES module, something that can be consumed as an ES module. So during development, I'm no longer pointing to my Node modules for this problematic package. I'm pointing to my new bundled library. So I'm kind of pre-bundling it because a lot of bundling is done at the end of a project when you're ready to put it up on a server somewhere and you're all done with things. But no, here I'm just doing pre-bundling. I am bundling stuff to get it working in my development environment. So yeah, that was a complicated step. And again, I think that's what tripped up our web componentron. But in the end, we'll be publishing this component or this component set. And when I say set, it's because we're going to have body tracking, we're going to have hand tracking, and we're going to have face tracking. It's going to be amazing. But all of these components that we're going to build they're not going to be created with libraries at all, except for TensorFlow, of course. We need that. But we're not going to use Lit except for where we really need it. So we're going to use Lit for the UI, for the playback controller UI, where you can press pause, play, seek around. But that's not going to be a major part of this. The bulk of this is going to be we're going to be using web standards. So this is going to be interesting. We're going to explore, for the most part, building a web component without using a library, just using the web standard. So it's a little bit more work, but I don't think we need lit for doing this pose capture component. Anyway, I'm really excited to build a pose capture component. In the next segment, we're going to be looking at what TensorFlow is, and we're going to be looking at some of these various pose capture solutions, some of these models that let us track poses, whether it's in our hands, our body, our face. This is going to be a super cool component, or rather, like I said, a set of components. So I'll further explain all this in the next segment, but after that, we're going to talk with Jason Mays from Google. Now, his role at Google is lead developer advocate for TensorFlow.js. So I'm super excited to talk to him. Honestly, I don't know much about TensorFlow.js. I only know the code that I'm pulling in to build these motion capture solutions. But beyond that, I really don't know what's happening. So I'm excited to talk to him and learn. And after that, we'll build a component for pose capturing, track some points in our body. So stay tuned. It's going to be fun.